Our keynote speaker today is Kate Parker. I think in your email inviting me to the meeting, I called her Kate Porter, but she's in California, so. I realized it as soon as I hit the send button. So, Kate is a founding member of the Death with Dignity movement here in Florida, and she's got some really good information for us. Kate?
Hi, and thank you for having me today. Can you hear me?
Yes.
This is a beautiful group. I love it. So, as Diane kindly mentioned, that I am a founding member of the Florida Death with Dignity movement, or initiative actually. We are trying to get this humanitarian law passed in the state of Florida. Next, please. So, what is medical aid in dying? Medical aid in dying is an end-of-life option that allows individuals to legally request and obtain medications to end their life in a peaceful, humane, and dignified manner at a time of their own choosing. Next. 10 states and Washington, D.C. already have this medical aid in dying law and benefits available to their residents. So you may ask yourself, what's the difference between someone that lives in Orange County, Florida, and someone who lives in Orange County, California? People in Orange County, California, I don't know what's going on here. People in Orange County, California, have the right to die on their own terms when they feel like they've had enough. People in Florida are forced to live until they die, however long that might be. Next. A recent Gallup poll found, this was a large nationwide Gallup poll that polled people from all demographic groups, all adults, men, women, whites, non-whites, all age groups, all education levels, all political leaning, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, conservatives, moderates, liberals, and religious groups or non-religious groups. And across the board, 74% agreed that they would like to have a medical aid in dying option available to them if it came to that for them personally. So this is not a partisan issue. It is truly humanitarian. Next, please. So how would you qualify to be eligible for this medical aid in dying option? First, you must be an adult who is competent mentally. So sadly, that does not work for those who have mental illness or dementia, something like that. But for those of us that are suffering any kind of other horrible disease like cancer, ALS, Parkinson's disease, this would be an option for you. You must have a terminal illness that you've been given a reasonable expectation of 6 months of life. And this has to be confirmed by 2 doctors that you are an adult, that you are of sane rational thinking, and that you have 6 months or less to live. And you have to voluntarily request this medication and be able to self-administer. No one can do this to you or for you. You must be able to do it for yourself. Next, please. I'd like to take a minute to just put a personal spin on this. I'd like you to meet my dear Aunt Connie. She was a wonderful fun. She was like the greatest aunt anybody could have when they were growing up. She was single her whole life. She worked for TWA, and her and a group of her friends that were also, lifetime employees of TWA, they would go on the most fabulous trips, and they would come back and tell us all the tales of, going down the Nile, walking on the Great Wall in China, and bringing us gifts from everywhere. She was lively and vibrant, and really the most fun person I've ever known. And this is a picture of her when she was 94 years old. And in the end, she suffered from a heart disease, and she was in hospice care. And then she slipped and broke her hip. And from there on, it was just really a complete nightmare. She was in hospice care at home, and she hated that people would have to be taking care of her. She was so independent her whole life. She hated that people would have to come in and help with her catheters or change her diapers or wash her, or all the basic necessities of life that are intimate and personal. And then when they started administering like the hospice drugs, which work well for many people, and this is not a knock at all against hospice. In fact, our Death with Dignity program works well, hand in glove with hospice. But hospice isn't the total answer for everyone. And she had terrible nightmares and hallucinations, and it was just a horrible, horrible time with the medications that were given to her. And I just held her hand, and for like weeks, she would just cry every day just to let her die. And, this is America. Nobody should have to beg for death. And that's why when I moved to Florida and I found out that we didn't have that law here, I thought, I'm doing it here for you, Aunt Connie. This is it. So that's my personal note. She's my driving force, but more than that, I want it for myself. I want it for my kids. I want it for my husband, everyone I love, even people I don't love, people I don't know. Nobody should have to beg for death. Okay, next please. Next. Okay. Medical aid in dying simply results in less suffering. Next. How would such a law protect us from abuse? The law that we have, that we're trying to get passed in the state of Florida, is based on the law that was passed in Oregon like 26 years ago. It has very strong safeguards for protecting people from abuse and coercion. First off, like I said earlier, you have to be an adult of sound mind with a terminal illness with less than a reasonable expectation of 6 months to live. And all of this has to be confirmed by 2 doctors. You have to be able to take the medication yourself. If there's a doubt that you are of sound mind, then you must go through a psychiatric evaluation, and 2 doctors have to agree that you are of sound mind. So the safeguards for protecting the patient against, meddling relatives that just want their inheritance or whatever, the safeguards are very strongly in place, and in fact, there has never been a valid case of patient abuse or coercion in the 26 years that it's been a law in the state of Oregon, or the cumulative 50 years of all the states together. Not a single case of abuse or coercion. That stands as a testament to the integrity of the law. Next. How does such a law protect our doctors? Sometimes, you hear doctors say, well, I personally agree with it, but I'm not sure that I would be willing to prescribe it to a patient. Because, doctors are sued all the time. You've all heard of malpractice insurance. This law actually, when the doctors follow the prescribed steps and they have in all these other jurisdictions. When they follow the prescribed steps and go, it's all laid out for them how to do it legally. And when they do it legally, the doctor is protected from civil or criminal liability. They've done all their steps, they have the documentation. The family can't sue them, they're protected from civil suits. They are protected from criminal suits when they have done all the steps. So doctors are free to act according to their conscience. No doctors are forced to participate in this. It's a choice for them, just like it would be for the patient. They can decide to be a part of the program or not. So doctors are covered. Next. How would such a law affect my insurance? Well, when you actually do take the Death with Dignity medication, that if you were to decide to do this for yourself, and you take the medication, your death would be recorded legally as death by your underlying condition. And so that means that if you're suffering from cancer or whatever, that would be the legal description of your death. And the life insurance companies are required to pay. I mean, it's not reported anywhere as death by suicide or anything else. It is very clearly death by your underlying condition. And you know why? Because you are dying. In order to get the medication, you are already in the process of dying. You're just having a little bit more control over how long you have to suffer until the end. Okay, next please. Another question people have is like, how do I tell my family? You know, like, sometimes that can be a hard topic. In America, death isn't a common topic like it is in many other countries. We sort of just shy away from it and don't discuss it. But like during the case when we had, with Terry Schiavo, you may remember that thing, that, that was, I don't know, 15 or 20 years ago. And she had been in a coma, and her husband, and she'd been in a coma for quite a while, and her husband wanted to pull the plug and just let her go. And her parents said no, that they wouldn't allow it because Terry wouldn't have wanted that. And so it became this big court case that was watched all around the world. And really what came from that, and sadly, our Death with Dignity law would not have worked for Terry Schiavo because she was in a coma. So she couldn't do this herself. She wasn't of sound mind, and she couldn't ingest the medication. But what came from that was that people in America started talking with their family members of what they wanted in case of that they became incapacitated for some reason, and thus became our living wills, the death advance directives for what we want other people to do for us when we can't make that decision for ourselves. So that's what that brought along. So now what we're trying to do is get this conversation going with your family members again, and just say, now we've got our living wills, so everyone knows what to do for us in case we can't decide for ourselves. But this is what I would choose for myself if I can decide. I want to have the option to have this medication, and on the day that I decide I've had enough, I can take that medication and die peacefully in my sleep. And you get that conversation going with your family members so they all understand that this is your true wish, and especially before you're in that situation. Have the conversation now before you're dying from cancer. Then they know. And I'll tell you another thing, just by the way, and that is that about 70% of the people who have asked for this medication take the medication at a time of their own choosing and have that peaceful death. 30% of the people choose not to take it because they have never reached that point yet, but they say that it gives them comfort just to know that if it does get worse and they're ready to call it, they can call it. And so there's many reasons why to have this option. Not necessarily that you want to take it for yourself or that you don't want to take it for yourself. It is just another option that you have to choose. Right now, we don't really have an option. We have as much pain relief as we can get, but that's not always enough. Talk to my Aunt Connie about that. Next. Okay, next. I always talk ahead of the slides. So how can you help? We are a grassroots organization. You go ahead to the next one, please. Thanks. We are a grassroots organization. We have small little groups of people. I've been out for 2 years getting petition signatures and asking for volunteers and donations. And there are so many ways that you can help. You'll see here on my slide, we've got our website and our Facebook page. Even if you do nothing but, get on our Facebook page and interact, that helps spread the news. Any way that we can get the word out. We have email campaigns. We're doing petition gatherings. We're gonna, when we do have sponsors in both houses, I can't say the names until they actually do the filing, but we're going. This is going. And so we need to get a large group of people to get out there and support the legislators to say, yes, we've got 150 people, 150,000 people in your jurisdiction that want this law passed. Give the lawmakers the support they need to pass this law. When we talked earlier about the percentage of people across the board that were in favor of this law, 74%, even in a predominantly conservative area like the Villages, I have found that to be true. When I'm out getting petition signatures, I get about 74% of people willing to sign my petition. I think that's fabulous because, again, it's not a partisan issue, it's humanitarian. Thank you. So, at the very least, spread it, talk about it to your friends and neighbors. I've got petition signature pages up here if you want to come. I've got flyers. If any of you are interested in volunteering, even like on email campaigns and things, I have my business card which has my personal contact information, and I'm the coordinator for volunteers in Central Florida. So if you want to volunteer, either petition gathering or emailing, grab a card and email me saying you'd like to volunteer. Or you can put a big old V in front of your name when you sign my petition, and then I'll just get you on my mailing list. So I think that's what I have for now. Shall I open it for questions?
Oh, yes.
Thank you. Okay.
You talked about an individual having to take the medication themselves. So you have a person who's of sound mind, less than 6 months to live, who has severe ALS or Parkinson's and does not have the coordination to take the medication, but he's of sound, he wants it. How do you deal with that?
Well, however that person eats, I mean, if they can hold a cup
Well, they can, assuming they can't hold it up.
Okay, yeah,
They
okay. Okay. Well, and if they have a feeding tube, all they have to be able to do is hold it. I mean, maybe they could just prop the cup. There's so many what if things, but you have to be able to self-adjust it. So if you could put a cup in a safe place with a straw, and they could get the straw in their mouth, then that would allow them to take it. Or if they have
So you can lift the cup and give it to them?
Yes, but they have to be able to, they have to do it themselves. What I'm saying is, I can't talk about very specifics on individual because the law is the law, and I'm not going to suggest that anything else goes, but.
I had a second follow-up.
Yes, okay.
Even though the death is recorded as natural causes in a state that has a death with dignity law, the insurance companies are going to challenge it anyway.
They won't. The insurance.
It has never been challenged?
Yeah, the insurance companies, they comply. And it's already been out there, like I said, for 26 years. Once you have the law, they understand how the law works. Okay, now, excuse me, Doctor.
Yes, a couple of things. When our pets, our loved pets are injured or dying, we let them go. We take them to the vet. The vet gives them a shot and they're gone. They're not suffering. We shoot a horse in the old days, so they didn't suffer. Also, there's a movie, I think it was a true story, called Whose Life Is It Anyway? With Richard Dreyfuss, and it was so sad. He was a quadriplegic, and he wanted to die, and the hospital was trying to say, no, you can't die. Give the guy a break, it's his life. He's got a mind, he can decide. And when you go to the doctors or the hospital, what do they ask you? Do you have a living will? I finally got one, my husband got one. He passed away and he went to hospice, and when he died, I was there to hold his hand. So, don't let your loved ones suffer. You do it for your pet, do it for your loved ones, your family. My sister and I have a pact. I don't want to be in a hospital like the poor girl. I think the governor got involved when the husband wanted to go with saving her, letting her go. The parents said, no, we're going to let her suffer in the hospital for who knows how long. So I'm a Christian, but I think if Jesus was here, or, go for it.
That's right.
Like
you, I don't believe our God wants us to suffer. I don't believe that anybody's God wants them to suffer. That's not anybody's grand plan for people on earth. Anyone else? Well, I'll be down in front. If you'd like to sign the petitions or whatever, come up and chat with us. Thank you so much.